Now in this video, we're going to be making a batch of strawberry wine. Now, I made a batch of strawberry wine over a year ago, but the way I make the wine these days is a bit different than the way I made wine over a year ago. One of the reasons being, I no longer use sulfites that was present in that first batch of wine. Also, after rewatching that wine video, I look pretty bad. So I'm going to remake it for no other reason than just on that. Hi, I'm Charles and welcome to DIY Fermentation, your site for doing fermentation on a shoestring budget. Okay, to make this wine, I'm going to be using the following. I'm going to be using 4 pounds of fresh strawberries, up to 4 cups of sugar. I'm going to be using a Red Star Premier Classique wine yeast. Again, if you don't have it, use whatever you've got. My choice of using this one is because of its high temperature range, ABV of about 15%. It's a good performer for reds and rosés. I'm going to be using the juice of 1/2 of a lemon. The lemon is going to be used as our acid blend substitute. In this one, I am going to be using a peptic enzyme to help eliminate some of that pectin that's inherent with strawberries. Again, if you don't have it, don't worry about it. In this one, I am going to be using straining bags. You're going to need at least 1 gallon or 4 liters of fresh filtered water. Something to do primary fermentation in, preferably something with a wide mouth opening. You'll need something to do secondary fermentation in. Airlock with stopper. A hydrometer to help us know how much sugar we need to add, if any, additional, and what our resulting alcohol level is going to be at the end. And of course, all of your equipment needs to be sanitized using your sanitizer of choice, in which case I'm using Star Sans this time around. And that's what I'm going to be using to make this wine. Now this part of the plan is really very simple. We want to give our strawberries a rough chop. And then get them into the straining bags. All right, on to the kitchen. All right, in the kitchen, what we want to do is bring our 1 gallon or 4 liters of water into the pot. And turn on the heat. And let's bring this to a boil. Now that our water has come to a good rolling boil, we want to go ahead and drop in our strawberries. Now the reason why we're putting our strawberries in boiling water is that we want to kill off any stray or wild yeast that might have been on the strawberries, and to some degree some of the harmful bacteria that might also be on the strawberries. We don't want to cook the fruit, so we're going to go ahead and just turn off the stove. And just let it come down to room temperature. Now that our juice has come down to temperature, we're going to go ahead and add 3 cups of sugar. We might adjust that depending on our hydrometer reading, but that comes in at 1.8 ounces, or that comes in at 681 grams. All right, looks like our hydrometer reading is coming in at what looks like 1.0, 1.060, a little bit short of where I want it, which would be 1.080. So we're going to go ahead and add another cup of sugar and take another reading. All right, one more cup of sugar, or 230 grams, is going to be added to the mix. And let's go ahead and get that incorporated. Take another reading. All right, looks like our new reading is going to come in at looks like right about 1.080, which is right where I like to have it. All right, moving on. We now need to transfer our juice from our pot to our fermenter. Normally I would use a cup and try my hand 1 cup at a time, or 2 cups at a time. But I'm feeling adventurous, so I'm going to try, well, not like that. I'm going to, with my freshly sanitized hands, transfer the bags first. And now I'm going to try my luck at pouring it directly from the pot. Okay, sometimes I get lucky. All right, that being done, what we need to do now is we need to add our peptic enzyme. Now again, peptic enzyme is purely optional. According to my instructions, it's a 1/4 teaspoon of peptic enzyme. Sprinkle that around. And with a sanitized spoon, just want to incorporate that just a little bit. Put your cap back on. And take it out of the sink, put it on the counter, and let it sit for at least 12 hours. Let's go ahead and incorporate our acid blend substitute. By juicing our 1/2 lemon. And add that to our fermenter. Now, before adding our yeast, Might be a good idea just to give our strawberry juice mixture a nice, good, vigorous stir. You want to try and incorporate a little bit more oxygen into the mix. And after you've given that a suitable stir, it is now time to add the magic ingredient, which is going to take our strawberry juice into strawberry wine using a 1/4 teaspoon of wine yeast. Normally I just sprinkle it evenly across the top with all of these bags in there. I'm just going to incorporate it just a little bit, just to get it past those bags. Go ahead and put our cover back on. And let's move on to the next step. Now then, one of the last things we need to do with this phase of the operation is that we need to label our creation. Okay, we are making strawberry wine. We are start making it on this date, and our OG reading was 1.080. Now I should point out that this is the current date. For those of you who are watching this video to the bitter end, this is today's date, including that part. All right, now then, of course we're going to, for the next 3 days at least, we're going to come back in and we're going to go ahead and give this a vigorous stir to incorporate some more oxygen into the mix. And that will help the yeast out quite a bit. After that, I generally tend to leave it alone. Dealing with fresh fruit, I will let it sit in the fermenter for at least 5 days, no more than 7 in my case. And then I'll take out the what's left of the strawberries. It'll be a pretty good mush by that point. And then I'll rack it into a secondary carboy. Now I should point out that this particular fermenter does have its own built-in airlock, which is why you're not seeing me using one of the standard size airlocks. But again, for the next 3 days, let it do its thing with a little bit of oxygen added to the mix. Now, if you like what you see here, please make note of the fact that there are several more steps following going into secondary. You can find a link to the playlist, which will contain videos for those separate steps. The several rackings, the bottling, the corking, the degassing, those series of steps. You'll find those in the link provided below. If you like what you see here, again, please click on the subscribe button. Let me know I'm appreciated. Memberships are always welcome. And I'll see you in the next video.